stick with mine just because we'll stay in the PS5 ecosystem for a little bit longer, and then
Okay.
we'll hop out. So I finally, I've had a chance to play Horizon Forbidden West, and I
So you've
was,
been saying it for that long, and I honestly would have sold you my digital
oh,
copy,
it's
but you had
fine.
been saying it for so long that I assumed you had it already.
No, I was waiting until I actually had time to play it. I didn't put it off because I remember the first game I played it. I want to say it was like I did a lot of stuff in it, but it was like a 60-hour game when I played it. So I'm like, I need plenty of time. But I got like 1 week left for work gets kind of crazy, so I figured, okay,
Mhm.
now's kind of my opportunity. So I've been pretty hyped. I really enjoyed the first one. I mean, it's a standard kind of open world game, but the first one, the gameplay was really solid. I don't know how familiar you are with Horizon at all, but the whole robot dinosaur shtick where you're kind of hunting them down and kind of progressing through the world.
Kind
I
of,
don't know.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was fun at that level. So I was hoping that the sequel would kind of build upon that. I'll be honest,
Um,
man. I've been enjoying it, but
I
I'm
was gonna
fairly
say,
underwhelmed.
from what I've understand from a lot of reviews, like on IGN and stuff, the story for the second one for a lot of people has been kind of eh. Uh,
I'm not even
I
sure
said,
if it's the story. I mean, here's the thing: the first game, beyond just having good gameplay and a cool world to explore, the story was pretty interesting. Like it was nothing
isn't she?
groundbreaking. It was cliche in places and whatnot, kind of a end of the world kind of thing. And I don't want to spoil it, but basically, she can revitalize some old technology to save the world. But the problem is, like the first story wrapped up pretty well. It did leave some,
Oh, it's one of those where it's like, oh, it's a good game. Yeah, it wraps up nice.
yeah, it definitely felt complete. I mean, they definitely had a thread there you could continue, and you're like, oh, okay, there's where the sequel's going to go. But I feel like the sequel, at least the way it started, the pacing was really awkward. Like at the very beginning, it just drops this huge exposition dump at
Exposition
you, and basically, it summarizes the whole first game and kind of what's going on. Which I mean, okay, that makes sense. I mean, if you're coming in
on the
from a
last
sequel,
episode of Dragon Horizon.
yeah, I think the problem is like this game has some weird like techno babble and stuff in it,
Hmm.
and it's a lot of kind of nonsense to go through right through at the beginning, so it kind of kills the pacing, whether you're new to the game or not. Which I don't recommend play this game before the first one. If you haven't played the first Horizon, do that before you even touch this game, if at all. So that
It
slowed the
looks
game down. Go ahead.
it looks like that. Oh, that she was right in one of them. I was saying it looks like Dino Riders.
Yeah.
Nobody remembers Dino Riders.
Oh, I remember Dino Riders.
I love Dino.
But anyway, so the story starts to kind
Sorry.
of slow. I don't feel like, at least from where I'm at, I think I'm about halfway through the game right now. The story I don't think is any more interesting than what happened in the first game. I don't know. It's a lot more. It's easier to anticipate. I don't know. Everything just feels the same, if that makes sense.
Does it feel like an unnecessary sequel to an extent?
Yeah, like it's I don't know. I feel like you're going down hard on the game because I do enjoy it, and if you enjoy the gameplay and what Horizon is from the first game, you'll enjoy this. But I don't feel like you need this. Like I don't. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think what is actually different about this game, even from a gameplay standpoint, from the first game. I feel like I'm hitting all the same beats, and it's still fun.
Really?
Because I remember when I finished the first Horizon, I'm like, oh, I wish I could have more of this to play. So I think if this game would have been available right then and there, that would have been fine. But now, after having, I think a couple of years to kind of have higher expectations and want, a little more of a reinventing of the wheel, I don't feel like the wheel's been touched at all here. It is the same game through and through. It looks pretty. So I mean, I'm sure one of the big jumps up is just from graphical fidelity, but as far as the gameplay itself,
I don't mean to throw shade at PlayStation. I like PlayStation, but hearing all of this makes me kind of wonder about the status of PlayStation right now. Like, because if you really think about it, a lot of the titles that they have coming out recently are many are sequels, or many, or there's also a remake. So I wonder, like, is PlayStation going, like, not saying
I wouldn't.
pull this all year round, but are they going through like a small little period of where they're like, okay, we need a game, or you need games out, you know what I mean?
So I think there's two sides to that. I don't think this is the game you should use as the harbinger for
I
the
was looking more
downfall
at
of
like Last of Us, considering that game's been
that.
re-released like 3 to 4 times.
That's a whole nother conversation. here's the thing with this game: the production values through the roof. Sony put all their money into making a good,
Hmm.
solid game, and it is. I mean, I'm coming hard
I'm
at
not.
this game,
I'm not
but
saying they are. I just threw out a hypothetical. You know.
here's my point. This game is good. It's not a bad
Hmm.
game. It is a good, solid game. It is not going to blow you away. If you played the first one, it's going to feel like the first one, for better or for worse. If you are okay with just more Horizon, you're going to enjoy this. If you're wanting anything more than that, you're going to be let down. But I think this is a particular case. There are plenty of other sequels that PlayStation put out that I don't think are going to follow the same pitfalls that this one has. Like,
Hmm.
I don't think Ragnarok is going to be stuck in the same form. I would hope not. I'm hoping Ragnarok is going to take bigger leaps forward. But
Yeah, I would. I would at least hope that when a game comes out, though, that it like builds on the lore. It
and this
feels like it's a
does.
worthy successor and stuff like that.
I don't know. I think it's hard. I think it's hard with this game because the first game was so well
It was so good.
envisioned. Like, thinking about what they could have even at the time of taken up a notch from the first game, I'd be hard pressed to really think of something. And they were probably in that same boat. They're like, I don't want to break what's already working, so they probably polished some things up. Added some more missions and built up the lore, some which they did. I think you're just kind of in this weird spot where you already had a really, really good game, that,
Hmm.
sophomore slump kind of situation. So I don't know. I think I'm going down the wrong route here.
Yeah.
I am enjoying the game. I will say this though: if you played the first game and you were happy with your experience of the first game, you don't need to play this game. At least not anytime soon, unless you get it cheap, like
A
15,
budget.
20 bucks.
Yep.
Yeah, don't go
Or when this
spend.
comes to Game Plus or PlayStation
Yeah,
Plus
whatever
at
the
some
subscription.
point.
It's a good play if you're just wanting spend some more time in this world, but you are not going to be blown away by any advancements or anything. So just gauge your expectations accordingly, and you should be good. It's a fun game. I'm enjoying my time with it. I am going to finish it, but as I said, just a little underwhelmed because I had higher expectations than I think what it's kind
Hmm.
of delivering on.
And I feel like I don't feel like it's necessarily a bad thing to have of Sony first party games. I mean that speaks to the quality and to the reputation that many Sony first party games have. I mean, a lot of them have been so good that people just Sony people are they're expecting high quality content whenever it comes out in its first party.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think that's like a bad thing having high expectations for them.
I'll tell you one other weird thing about this game, and it didn't really impact me as much just because it took me so long to have time to play it in the first place, but this game came out in that Maniac month where it was, Elden Ring came out, and was
Ugh,
so some. I'm not going down that road, but I mean, like, there were a
yeah.
bunch of other high profile games that kind of buried this game.
Arceus, right? Didn't Arceus come out around then?
It came out a little earlier. There was another larger title though. Regardless, there was a lot of stuff that
Yeah.
overshadowed Horizon, which at first I think people looked at as a negative because this game wasn't able to shine. I kind of think that was probably a good thing because I think if this game would have stood on its own and there was
Might
nothing
have
to
been
overshadow
Forza.
it.
Might have been
Forza was
Forza.
earlier than that. Forza was last year.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh shoot. Sheesh, sheesh.
Yeah. My point being, now that you've sidetracked me,
Sorry.
I think it's kind of good it got buried because I think if this game just
Hmm.
had to be this flagship title all on its own
If
with
it was a
nothing else to take away
tentpole,
from,
yeah.
I think people would have noticed the chinks in it even more so. Like, I mean, I read some of the reviews back when it came out, and I noticed people saying kind of the stuff I'm now saying.
Hmm.
But I think it probably would have come across more negative if people didn't have other stuff to play at the time. So I think it kind of worked out in Sony's favor that it was a little more hidden. And I think over time people are going to enjoy this, in the suite of PlayStation library, having a good quality game there to always come back to. But wasn't as I think
Interesting.
amazing as it could have been.
Interesting. I mean, I hate to say it, what I took away most from your little your mini review is that I really want to play the first one now. Makes me want to play the first one even
The
more.
first one's great. I mean, everything that makes the sequel good is in the first game. I think that's what I have a
Hmm.
hard time with. Is I'm enjoying two, but it's all stuff that was in one. So I mean, I could have. There are a couple of cool environments that are in this new game that I do think blow the first game out of the water. I always like to come back to this particular environment in certain games whenever I see it represented because this I know a franchise that you're really big on, Fallout, but Fallout New Vegas. I was extremely underwhelmed when I got to the Vegas Strip, and for me, that hurt the whole game for me. I know people love New Vegas; they put that as kind of like the upper echelon of Fallout. I don't.
And the
Um,
name.
hmm?
It's in the name. It's
Yeah.
in the name of the game.
But I don't know. I was very underwhelmed when I got to the Vegas Strip. Where I'm going with this is they have a representation of Vegas in this game, and to me, it blows just about every representation I've seen of Vegas out of the water. So
Really?
that was really, really cool. I've enjoyed my segments there, but that alone is not enough, I think, to sell you on needing the sequel. But yes, play the first game. It's definitely worth your time. You'll have a good time with it.
You know what I think could have made this title more interesting is if Ashley Birch would have done her Tiny Tina voice for that character the entire time.
Man, I
Like,
tell you, I think when I played the first game, I didn't really like catch that
can you
that was
tell?
her.
You can't tell it's her.
Oh, I can now. Now that I'm paying
Okay.
attention to it. The first game, maybe it's I hadn't played a whole lot of games with her in it at that point. I don't know, but after spending more time with her work and other games, I see all of her other characters as I'm playing this game, for
Yeah.
better or for worse. She sounds the same, but either
Yeah.
way.
I will say, like, over time, that is one other mild criticism I've heard of this series is that Aloy, is that she's not the greatest like main character. She's
one
kind of
note.
bland.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which
kind
is
of similar
normally
to
fine. Like the first game, I think it masked it a little better because you got more of her, background, which I think kind of gave her, a little more relatability in some places. And there were other characters that you were meeting and bouncing off the personality from that made the interaction still enjoyable. This game doesn't have as many new characters, at least not ones that you care about. So I think you're really left just with her and her performance and her personality, which, yeah, it's pretty one note for most of the game. It's not terrible. I mean, it's fine. She delivers her lines really, really well, but the character is just written kind of into the world, doom and gloom, which, is what it is.
Which kind of reminds me that kind of criticism that like there's certain titles that kind of like immediately jump into my head. I remember like Assassin's Creed. Everyone thought Desmond was super boring. I remember with Watch Dogs, everyone thought whatever his name was boring. It's not uncommon, unfortunately.
Yeah, it does. Here's the thing: it's not like the voice acting or anything is delivered poorly. So I mean, the quality's still there, so it's not going to distract you from anything. There are other things in this game I think that are going to upset you more than her performance, or I shouldn't say performance, performance as well. But her character being a little one note, if that's an issue for you, it's not a big deal. I'll be honest. I mean, throughout the game, there's other things you can critique. I'd let that one slide.
Yeah, fair enough. Once again, I'm super excited, so I'll definitely let you guys know whenever I decide to do a stream of the first one and whatnot.
And you won't get around to that game. You got all the God of Wars to play. You got to get through Eternal. Then you got Pokemon
Uncharted,
coming out. Yeah,
Last of Us. I still haven't played either of those. Sheesh.
let's not go down the Last of Us road. That
Infamous. haven't played any of the Infamouses. Want to play the Spider-Man. Haven't played any of the Spider-Mans.
Oh, you definitely need to play the Spider-Mans. Like those should be high up on your list after you finish God of War.
Fair enough.